So wrestling family, you guys know me, okay? Anytime I see anyone leave WWE to go to a different promotion to chase new dreams, new challenges, as long as they're happy, I'm all for it. And that is the best case scenario for leaving any type of promotion. But unfortunately, there's the other side of it where someone leaves and bets on themselves and end up in a situation that is far worse than where they were before. And that's what this video is about. It's called 10 wrestlers who downgraded their careers in a new promotion. Now, before we get started, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into this.
10 wrestlers who downgraded their careers in a new promotion. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Number 10, Lance Storm. Lance Storm is often credited as the man who kicked off the Invasion storyline, and it's a true testament to Storm's star power at the time that he delivered the first strike in what would be one of the biggest storylines WWE have ever delivered. During Storm's WCW run between 2000 to 2001, he emerged as a breakout star for the promotion, as his heel work was tremendous and his in-ring work was way ahead of its time. Storm had all the tools to be a main event attraction for the company, and he was without a doubt someone the company should have put some stock behind during the final few months of the promotion's existence. When Storm was brought into WWE in 2001, he had a great first few months in the promotion, as his run in the mid-card and his matches against the likes of Edge were actually excellent. However, it was only a matter of time before Vince McMahon took exception to Storm's lack of charisma, and Storm was then relegated to solely being in tag teams. By the year 2003, Storm was nothing more than an enhancement talent for the company, and WWE would even actively mock Storm live on air, as Stone Cold Steve Austin would fall asleep during his matches. Number 9, Mike Awesome.
That's so messed up, because for me, I liked Lance Storm. I really did. He was one of the greatest technical wrestlers to do it. I don't know if he's still doing it now, but he was back then. But the very unfortunate thing about Lance Storm is that, to me, even though he was fantastic in the ring, to a lot of people, when it came to charisma, when it came to being on the mic, he was drier than my elbows. That guy had no personality. And again, it didn't bother me. I liked him. I like people like Dean Malenko. I love Zack Sabre Jr. There's so many technical wrestlers that I love to watch that some people believe don't have any personality or their matches are kind of boring. But if you come to WWE or WWF at the time with no personality, no charisma already included in the package, they're just going to send you down to the bottom, which is really, really messed up. But anyway, let's continue.
Upon signing former ECW World Champion Mike Awesome, WCW had a great opportunity to freshen up their main event picture, and Awesome had every tool to deliver in this role. Awesome had a fantastic look, and more importantly, he was going to be able to have stellar matches, which was something that the core WCW audience was crying out for at the time. Instead of pushing Awesome to the moon, WCW Creative decided to give Awesome 2 gimmicks, and both were abysmal and insulting. One of his gimmicks was known as that 70s guy. This saw Awesome act like he was from the 70s, like literally. This was so generic and bland and had zero substance. Awesome's more infamous gimmick was known as the Fat Chick Thriller, and this involved Awesome attempting to sleep with overweight women. This came at a time where every wrestler in the company had to have a nonsensical gimmick, and assigning Awesome gimmicks of this nature was the exact reason as to why his WCW run completely flopped. Number 8, Raven.
He was after them BBWs.
Raven was one of the more interesting characters of the 90s. He managed to get over both in WCW and ECW.
ECW legend right there.
Down to the fact that Raven's gimmick had a ton of depth, and the motivations of the character were always fascinating. Although Raven was a big name in each of these promotions, when he returned to WWE in 2000, everything seemed to fall apart. Raven would make his debut at the Unforgiven pay-per-view, and unfortunately, this was the only time in which Raven was presented as a big deal in the company. He was mainly used in the hardcore division, and although he did his best in this role, he was capable of so much more. According to Raven in a shoot interview, he knew he wasn't going to be booked right the moment he found out that Vince McMahon questioned why he'd been rehired. Michael Hayes was in a booking meeting when Vince McMahon said, "Who the F hired Johnny Polo? My heart was broken when I realized I wasn't going to be used right."
That's
Number 7, EC3. EC3
and I wonder if he's going to show up at NXT. I wonder if he's going to show up this week, since they're going to be at the old ECW arena. That'll be interesting.
A huge deal when he signed for TNA. He had a unique gimmick, and as his run went on, he seemed to just get better and better as a performer. It was only a matter of time before WWE came calling, and when it was reported that EC3 had signed for WWE and he was going to be able to keep his EC3 name and gimmick, fans were more than excited. EC3 would have a brief run in NXT, but it was declared that he was main roster ready within a few short months. This run on the main roster was unbelievably bad, and it took just a few matches for WWE to lose complete faith in the former TNA World Champion. Former WWE Chairman Vince McMahon took issue with the fact that during a match that EC3 had against Dean Ambrose, Ambrose was the one being cheered. All the blame bizarrely fell on EC3, and he would subsequently be removed from WWE programming. They had such a great opportunity with the EC3 character, yet the stubbornness of Vince McMahon massively hindered his success. Number 6. The Sandman.
Another
It was a
ECW
smart call
legend.
for WWE to bring the Sandman in for an ECW relaunch in 2006. The Sandman was a household name for the ECW brand, and it would have been odd to have an ECW product without the Sandman attached to it. It was evident early on that WWE had no idea how to present him outside of a brief cameo, and in 2007 they made the bold call to draft the Sandman to Raw. Moving the Sandman to a non-ECW show made zero sense, as it was going to expose the character, and that's exactly what happened. Ultimately, the Sandman's WWE run was a complete waste of time, and he was presented as more of a novelty act than a character that fans should actually care about. Number 5. DDP. In 2001,
Oh my
DDP
god, dude, this was the worst. Because as a kid, you guys don't understand how mad I was with WWE for so many things, specifically with Goldberg, and this was the second victim. Okay? Because with DDP, the only reason why I watched WCW as a kid was for 4 people. Was Booker T, Sting, Goldberg, and this guy right here, Diamond Dallas Page. And when they ruined him, I was so upset. That invasion angle left so much of a bad taste in my mouth, and the aftermath of it. I don't even go back and watch the highlights because I don't even care about the angle no more. It was so bad.
Was one of the most popular wrestlers in the world that wasn't signed to WWE. Therefore, when it was reported that he would be coming to the WWE following the WCW buyout, there were high hopes. WWE had a backwards creative idea for him, as he would become a stalker. DDP would stalk The Undertaker's real-life wife, and this was a character trait that made zero sense.
At all.
He would explain that he wanted to make an impact, yet this more sinister side of him was never present during his main event run in WCW. Fans
Exactly.
instantly rejected the character, and rightly so. DDP's subsequent matches with The Undertaker were met with lukewarm reviews, and WWE were even accused of outright burying DDP in the feud, as they had him lose to The Undertaker's wife on Raw. When the feud came to an end, they were completely over DDP.
It's kind of crazy. He looked like Kanye right here. He's kind of, predicting the future. with
The
his
legitimate
outfit.
character, so much so that they placed him in the lower mid-card, competing for the European title. DDP's WWE run was filled with what-ifs, and we never know what his career would have been like if they just presented him like the star he was. DDP would reflect on the disastrous WWE run during an interview with Sportskeeda, and he believes that being a mark for Vince McMahon was a huge detriment to him. I think one of the biggest things hurting me going into the WWE, I was too much of a mark for Vince. As a kid growing up, I freaking thought Vince McMahon was what he is. He is the Grand Poobah. I respected him so much walking in there, probably too much. Vince Russo will tell you this, you gotta be able to fight your way in there. And I was happy to be there. I just wanted to be there because I loved that since I was a kid, since it was the WWF. I watched Vince interview Andre on Apple Carts, and Vince, who is 6'2", looks like a midget next to Andre the Giant. And I loved the guy. I understood it was business. Number 4, Andrade.
And that's the part that was kind of crazy because they had my guy DDP looking like a bootleg Lifetime movie antagonist, stalking people, man. Who came up with this stuff? Vince, that's who.
There's usually an expectation that when a wrestler goes from WWE to AEW, that AEW will present them significantly better. Fans definitely had this expectation when it came to Andrade, yet his AEW run was frustrating to watch. AEW struggled with how to book him, and this was seen by countless managers he would have during his time in the promotion. Whenever Andrade would be booked to wrestle, he would have great matches, yet he would struggle to have meaningful storylines in the company, and fans would often forget that he was even signed. Towards the end of his run, Andrade would even begin to like tweets criticizing the company, and this was a sign that his run needed to come to an end. Andrade would end up departing the company and would embark on a WWE return in early 2024. Number 3, John Morrison. Sometimes in pro wrestling, particularly when it comes to major promotions such as WWE, it's obvious that a run isn't going to live up to expectations.
Yeah.
John Morrison was expected to return to TV in early 2020, and fans hoped that Morrison would make a surprise return in the annual Royal Rumble match. However, WWE had different ideas, as they had Morrison return in an awkward backstage segment on SmackDown. WWE would then reform the Miz and Morrison pairing, and whilst this acted as a huge boost to the tag division, Morrison was a main eventer in TNA and Lucha Underground, and he could have easily been a great addition to the upper echelon of WWE. The most infuriating thing about his final WWE run for Morrison is that he was often presented as the Miz's sidekick. Whilst the comedy was fine and his body of in-ring work was great, he was never presented as a true threat. and it didn't exactly come as a massive surprise when they would release the talented star in 2021. Number 2, Vader.
I don't know why
Vader was
it was crazy. I don't know why when I saw that video of Drake Maverick when he got upset after he got released. I don't know why that just upset me. I don't know why. I really don't. I feel bad for the guy. But you know what? Hopefully he's doing great right now.
a perfect signing for WWE in the mid 90s, as he was the exact star they needed to reignite the main event scene. Vader had an incredible look, and he was a fantastic storyteller in the ring, and it seemed like a given that he'd be able to have unbelievable matches against the top names in the company such as Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, and The Undertaker. However, this run went off the rails when backstage politics played a role in Vader losing his place on the card, and he would spend the majority of his days as a lower card talent. It was previously common practice for backstage politics and influence to ruin a wrestler's run in the company. His backstage heat surfaced after he messed up a spot during his SummerSlam match with Shawn Michaels, and with HBK being the way he was in '96, WWE were going to listen to every grievance he had to say.
Michaels in '96 and Randy Orton back in the day.
But WWE suffered a monumental blow in late '97 when Bret Hart left in favor of WCW. Hart was offered a contract that was too good to ignore, and after they delivered the infamous Montreal Screwjob, WWE and Hart's relationship was completely shattered. Hart was such a big name, and it was kind of unusual that for the first few months of his run, WCW really struggled in how to present him. As things went on, Hart looked increasingly frustrated, as he was never a wrestler to shy away from his true feelings. Just ask Bill Goldberg. Hart did have some great matches during his WCW run, yet he could have done so much more. In late '99, Hart would end up having a match with Goldberg that resulted in the end of his career. Hart still had years upon years left of active competition, and one stiff kick took that all away from him. Even though Hart often criticizes Goldberg for the botch kick ending his career, he's always been critical of the way WCW booked him, and this is what he had to say during an interview with the Broken Skull Sessions. "There was so much talent I could have worked with. Booker T, Hulk Hogan. I should have worked with Hogan right away. I should have had Hulk Hogan in a sharpshooter and done some big numbers with him. I went into WCW, I had more heat. I had wrestled you at WrestleMania 13, I beat Undertaker at SummerSlam, I knocked Vince McMahon out, I didn't really lose to Shawn Michaels. I had so much heat and they just didn't know what the hell to do with me." But in relation to what WCW themselves had to say regarding Hart and his dreadful run in the company, former WCW President Eric Bischoff had this to say on his podcast. "No reflection on him, but Bret Hart, nothing good came out of it. Not for him, not for us, not for the fans. Everybody lost." But there you have it, folks. 10 wrestlers
I
who
always think
downgraded.
about that, man. It's always sad because I was a big fan of Bret Hart. You know, his match against Austin at WrestleMania is one of my favorite matches to rewatch over and over again. And I always wonder what a match would have been like with Bret Hart versus Kurt Angle. That would have been a technical masterpiece. I feel a way about the fact that I never got to see that, but you know, it's wrestling. That's the type of business people are into. People get hurt, unfortunately. It is what it is, you know. Hopefully he's doing great. But anyway, what do you guys think? If there's wrestlers that ended up worse than these individuals in this list, let me know in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching. Salute, peace, have a good day.